Hi there, welcome to Island Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Leo energy. And we're going to see what's going on in Leo energy and maybe, Leo energy at large. Maybe people who are a Leo sun sign have significant Leo placements in their astrological chart. This might be more something that they could deal with than other people. But we all do tap into Leo energy, so therefore it affects us. And everybody else does too. And Leo energy can have to do if we're more aligned with, just like all the signs, we can align with those zodiac sign traits and characteristics in a more kind of worldly, shadowy way or a more high vibrational way. And of course, high vibe energy is being illuminated to the light, which is high vibe Leo. Seeing the truth, freeing yourself from your more, your more immature egoic nature or defensive nature. The shadow nature is huge, so I'm sure it'll come up in the reading about shadowy energy. And other people could be people who are more authentic as high vibe Leo, more loving, nurturing, supportive. It doesn't mean people have to be ooey gooey with everybody in their life, but the people that they have close relationships with, they enjoy being, they freely give of themselves because they're aligned with their high vibe nature, having hope and faith and belief in themselves and in others and in love, loving, encouraging, supportive, and not everybody's like that. Some people are aligned with their more shadowy Leo nature, which could just be, they got some lessons to learn. They could just be much more defensive, don't feel comfortable in their own skin, kind of more, just got lessons to learn. But, sometimes that can be older people versus younger people and still not comfortable being more authentically themselves. And maybe there's some things that they haven't dealt with, like shed light upon and offered love to free themselves from. So those things still kind of more manipulate them. So let's see what's going on in Leo energy. We start out with the Ten of Pentacles, and the reason is because of the Three of Swords. Well, kind of makes me think about, we have our dualistic nature, which is kind of like the Two of Swords. And in our life, at any given moment in our life, we kind of have to make a decision about how we're going to live life. And it might be because something else has, one phase of life or job, friendship, or relationship could have ended. And the Three of Swords can talk about being heartbroken. The Ten of Pentacles is Virgo. The Three of Swords is Libra, if anybody's dealing with those specific signs. But we've all went through phases of life, been in different jobs, friendships, or relationships where some of those things didn't work out and we can be heartbroken. Well, then we have to decide, what am I going to do next? What action am I going to take? Am I going to align with having more hope and faith and belief in myself, in my dreams, love myself, offer love and compassion to the situation? Or I could take action more out of fear, insecurity, pride, ego, or defensiveness, right? So Leo energy right now is at a point in their life, where it's ready for that next phase. And everybody in their own Leo energy has the free will to choose which aspect of their Leo energy they're going to align with. Some people already went through that and they made their decision. So let's go see how different people did make a decision and how different people could make a decision. We have the Empress card, the Six of Wands, the Five of Wands, the Queen of Pentacles, the Queen of Swords. And the reason it came out is because of the Two of Wands. Now, all the figures that we've dealt with so far are depicting feminine energies, and the feminine energies can depict how people are thinking and feeling. So a lot of this is just internal work right now that people could be doing within themselves. Everybody in the Two of Wands has a dream, is what the Two of Wands can talk about. They could dream of, the Empress energy can talk about wanting to give birth to something new. The Six of Wands, we'd like to move forward in a way that we view as victorious and successful, whatever that means to us. Oh, actually, that's the Four of Wands, which is like the Two of Wands, it's Aries energy about the self. We'd probably all like to feel victorious and successful within ourselves, right? But what is it that makes us feel victorious and successful within ourselves? Then we have the Five of Wands, which can be, we'd have to take this inspired action within ourselves in whatever it is that we think will make us feel maybe more, to give birth to what we want to give birth to. And so then we have the Queen of Pentacles. It's kind of it kind of starts in the emotional, creative realm within ourselves before we kind of manifest something into existence. And the Queen of Pentacles can talk about how emotionally we might have to work through. The Five of Wands can be about some inner conflict that we have about investing in that dream, and the Queen of Swords is Aquarius energy. So some people who are a little more shadowy might be a little more motivated and think it's just and fair to either be more about themselves or money or materialism. And if that's what kind of drives and motivates them, that the most important thing is to kind of look like a shining star in the world, to look victorious and successful, to feel better. Because over here, we can have that we're sad, is what the Three of Swords can talk about. That some things in our life didn't work out the way we wanted. Some friendships aren't working out, some jobs, some relationship. So we have this dream. Well, some people could decide to operate from their more shadowy Leo energy of ego. I want this dream to come into reality. So, though I might have inner conflict about it, if the most important thing to me is this dream, I might go about it in a way that really isn't inspired by truth and love. But because I want those things, just like somebody one job didn't work out, they're looking for a different job, they might not like the job. The Queen of Swords can talk about that we kind of feel betrayed. But we might go take a job that we don't really want to take, just like we could get in a friendship or a relationship or a marriage, even though it maybe isn't what we wanted to go do, isn't maybe aligned with our truth. But because we need a job or we want a friend or we want to be in a relationship, we might go do it anyway, right? Some other people temper their ego and then they harness these energies, and all of them kind of in a more high vibe way, that out of love for myself, I do have inner conflict also, just like other people. But I'm inspired within myself to invest in my dreams, not give up on my dreams, and settle for kind of making decisions more out of fear or insecurity or codependency or heartbreak, right? Or looking to things outside of myself, necessarily like that is the answer to my problems, I need to love myself emotionally. I need to work through my inner conflict. I need to see the truth about why some of those other things didn't work out, because I don't want this to happen again, right? And I don't control everyone, and I shouldn't try to control everyone. But I want to see the truth of it because I don't want to repeat that pattern. And that can be the difference between high vibe and shadowy energy. High vibe energy, the truth sets us free. But some people are defensive to the truth. And they harness that energy in a more shadowy way. Well, I wanted that to work out the way I wanted it to work out. It's like, but it didn't. But they might go do this exact same thing again because they're unwilling to see the truth. Well, it might not have worked out there. I might have got fired from that job. That person doesn't want to be my friend. That person doesn't want to be in some type of relationship with me. But harnessing these energies in a more shadowy way can be, like, oh, well, they were just the wrong person. Well, we can all get in mismatched relationships and we can all feel like, yeah, we weren't compatible. There was things that didn't work out right. And we can all feel betrayed. But the high vibe people see the truth of what it was and also within themselves. And it's kind of like, well, the Empress is Libra and Taurus energy. What is my philosophy of life and what I think is just and fair? What was their philosophy of life? What they think is just and fair? Am I kind of more about myself? Because the Four of Wands and the Two of Wands, of Aries energy is about the self. Am I kind of more about myself? The Fives talk about change. The One Pentacle can be about investing in truth and love and willing to look at life from a higher perspective. Do I have inner conflict about change? Am I willing to invest in looking at life from a higher perspective? Am I kind of defensive? Do I defend harnessing these energies in a more shadowy way where I have inner conflict about willing to emotionally grow and mature myself and maybe try to see things from other people's perspective? What about the people I got in a relationship with? Do they have inner conflict about learning lessons in life? To learn lessons in life, to keep growing and healing and maturing ourselves, we have to quit defending our more stubborn, prideful, I have my way of viewing life, and this is the way it's supposed to be done, and, like I had this dream. Well, it's okay for us to live our life and have our dreams, but if we're going to work with other people, those people have their dream also, right? And then if we're going to be in a relationship together, hopefully everybody is kind of willing to change, where everybody's not like, well, no, I had this idea. This is both the Queen of Swords and the Two of Wands can be, I have a dream. Well, no, I had my idea of how I was supposed to move forward, and this is what I wanted to go invest my time, energy, and effort into, and this is how I thought it was going to go. And the other person's like, well, you might have had your idea and your dream, but I also have things that I'm inspired by. And the Pentacle can kind of talk about our own unique talent, skills, and interests, and emotionally what we want to invest our time, energy, and effort into. And, we have to compromise. And some people have a harder time with that than other people, right? And so even if the Libra Taurus energy and high vibe can be that people, are they just and fair and loving and encouraging? Are they kind of emotionally mature? A lot of people can seem to be kind of just and fair and kind of encouraging and willing to kind of emotionally invest in people, but are they kind of defensive where it's like, I want to do it this way? A little bit, and that's shadowy energy. It's a little bit more about wanting it their way, or about them, or in a more worldly sense. I view the Queen of Pentacles also as Taurus energy, and this one is Libra and Taurus. In our Taurus Libra energy and our Aquarius energy and our fire sign energy, some people can be more motivated to be more about themselves or make their life more about the world or conforming to the world. And other people could be like inspired, like, I want things of the world just like everybody else, and I want friendships and relationships, and I'm going to have a job, and I have a dream, but I'm not as manipulated by the world to make my life. There's different degrees that people can be manipulated by the world. It can just be their close friends and family that kind of manipulate them. where like I think I gotta act this way or dress this way or go to these functions or not those functions, because we can just have our social group of people that we like, and we're kind of used to people conducting or themselves a certain way or doing certain activities or conforming in certain ways to the world. Other people let the whole world manipulate them. It's even more things that manipulate them. And then more people, some people can be more about themselves. Some people can be more shadowy. Empress can be that someone, male or female, emotionally, they kind of think they should be kind of the indulged person in the relationship. And they might come across as like just, fair, loving, nurturing, encouraging people. And it's not till people kind of work through a process with them that they kind of realize it's all for this ulterior purpose, where it's really still more about them and how it benefits them and their image or their status, or them being kind of indulged and wanting to be in a relationship, but oh, I'm kind of defensive to admitting that I might have some lessons to learn, or I'm defensive, or I'm really caught up in having a certain status image in the world, and that's what's most important. And it's not really love that drives and motivates me. And the people who harness this energy in a more high vibe way are more balanced within themselves, so they're less manipulated about being about themselves and being more tipped in favor, or even more so, tipped in favor about doing things because of these more worldly reasons. I have a dream. I want to go invest in my dream. I'm inspired to invest in my dream. Um, I maintain balance within myself. I want some of these things of the world, but I also want to high vibe energy as being more independent to live my more authentic life. I don't like people in my life and people in the world trying to dictate to me how to live my life. You're not my parent. And I give you the free will to live your life the way you want and face the consequences that you have to face. And I want the free will to live my life and my truth. And so those people could be people who have a dream, and they're, even if that dream, kind of high vibe energy could be where you're willing to shine your authentic light, like stand out from the herd. And some people very much like to hide in with the crowd and the herd. And they could even be defensive to people who do more shine their authentic light, because you're not conforming to the world, or you're not conforming to how I live my life. Well, look at the world. We have all these different rules. That's Taurus energy, is kind of all these different philosophies of life, and Libra energy of what we think is just and fair. You know, show your hair, don't show your hair. Wear your hair long, don't show your hair. Uh, dress whatever way, you'll face the consequences of just how people might think you're really obnoxious, maybe, in certain things that you wear. Or you just go live your life, and, like a lot of people, you wear some jeans, you wear some t-shirts, you go out in the world, and other people could think, no, you can't show your wrists, you can't show your ankles. No, you have to cover your whole body. It just kind of depends in our philosophy of life of what we think is just and fair, and hopefully trying to find people that are more on the same page. And if we are willing to see the truth of it, that sometimes we can meet some people, we can have love for them, they can have love for us, just like we can have love for like our mom or dad or brother and sisters, or our children could love us and we could love them. But we're all kind of can view life differently, and it'd be like, oh my goodness, you're going to wear that? It's like, yeah, we've said it to people in our life, and other people say it to us. And it's just like, oh, well, you know, we got to let everybody live their life. And sometimes their truth isn't our truth, and we wouldn't live our life like that or wear clothes like that or do whatever. And we don't like certain things to invest our time, energy, and effort in. Other people do. Some people are more about themselves. Some people are more about the world. Some people want to go indulge in things to feel better. Some people want to are sure if it's more about them, they'll be happy. And it's just to see the truth of all of it, of how we're different. And if I've come in, and we come into contact with all these different people to help us get clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. And instead of staying mad, it is a period, that it's hard, we can be sad that some things didn't work out. But if you want to move forward in your life and free yourself from it, from the Two of Wands to the Five of Wands is letting go, taking back the Three of Wands. So if there was people in my life, that is the Six of Wands, which is Leo energy. So we could love and have a philosophy of life in our Leo energy. That means we have different dreams and kind of what motivates and inspires us, from the Six of Wands to the Five of Wands. The Five of Wands in Leo energy can also be that some people are more competitive. That's shadowy energy. I'm more in my pride, my ego, my competitive nature, my prideful nature. I want it to be more about me. I want it to be more about the world. I'm more defensive. And other people are like, I was inspired to quit being more inspired about me and maybe being more caught up in these things of the world. I want to invest in truth and love. And I want to invest in loving myself. And other people who haven't learned to love themselves can be mad that other people have learned to love themselves. Why aren't you still in inner conflict about investing in yourself and in believing in yourself and believing in your dreams? I'm still back here conflicted about doing that. And so I do make my life more about being defensive or being about myself or my self-protective nature, indulging in this or making my life about that. But it's just to see the truth. Everybody has the free will to live their life whatever way they want. We've all been at different stages of life. Could you imagine if when you were 21 to 25, people trying to plunk you down in a life like you should live like a 55 to 65-year-old? I do. And they could have been 21 to 25, or they could have been 55 to 65. We're all at different stages of what the mix is, which is kind of like the Ten of Pentacles, of what we think is just and fair. Well, I want a little bit of this and a sprinkle of that and a big blob of this. And, that's like my recipe for what I think is just and fair that makes me feel like I have a good mix of what I want in the world. And what one person's mix is, and you hanging out with them, is like, yeah, no, this is not my mix. This might make you happy. It might make you Libra energy represented by the scales of justice. That might make you feel stable, grounded, balanced, loved, safe, happy. But my mix of what I want and kind of the pentacles can be all these things that we've kind of learned about what I like, what I don't like, what I think is just and fair, my hopes and dreams, your hopes and dreams. And then from the Ten of Pentacles down to the One Pentacle can be about becoming independent. Just like we grew up in a family, and I guess if some of you are young, but we kind of could go through that phase of life later if we have to leave a job or a friendship group or move away or something. But, just like when we were young, we had to become independent of being more codependent on our family, to become independent of them, to go invest in our own dream. And sometimes, we have to do that throughout our life with different people in our life. Could we have loved, does it mean we love that group or family any less? No, but I do have a dream. And so if my dream requires me to become more independent of this, to invest in my own dream, hopefully some people in my life love me enough, even though they could have inner conflict about what I'm investing in, because it might kind of contrast with how they're living their life and what they think is just and fair and the type of things they like to do. But we respect other people as being their own individuals who have their own dreams. And some people have more of a problem with that than other people. Some people are very defensive to people in their life becoming independent. Like, we were your original family, or we were your friend group, and you can go get married and you can go have children with someone else, but we're supposed to still be the primary foundation in your life. And if at some future point in time we say we don't like those people, you're supposed to become defensive to those people and let them go, because we're supposed to be the primary foundation in your life. And some of you could have known some people who were like that. And, it's kind of like realizing you were the third party, because the primary foundation that they're loyal to, even if you marry them, King and Queen of Pentacles is the only married suit of the deck, that they're either still primary loyalty is to themselves, where it has to be more about them, because they think that's just and fair, and they make their life more about them, and that's their philosophy of life. And so shadowy Queen of Swords can be, they're kind of think they're the star of the show, and everybody else should put aside their pride and ego here, but not them. Everybody else might have some lessons to learn in life, but not them. And you could have bosses and supervisors who are like that too, that you've experienced, right? Or even friends. And we could have been in friendship or relationship with some of those people for quite a long time, or we thought we were going to have them move forward within our life forever. We envisioned this dream that we were going to be friends together. I was going to work here forever. I was going to be in a relationship with that person, marry that person, stay married to that person. But there can come a time where, we're moving along in life and we can work through a lot of things, but eventually, does someone want to be more independent of an old phase of life? Again, we could have went through many phases with someone, different stages of life, but eventually we could kind of get down to what more inspires us. And if someone, it's kind of like the first 30 to 50 years, we're pretty caught up in a lot of these things of the world, and we have these things we want to manifest. Those are part of our dream. We want to be in friendship. We want to be in a relationship. Might want to get married. Might want to have a family. Work on our career. Have a job. And we can put a lot of time and attention on those things. And some people that will always be more what they're motivated and inspired by in maybe their fire sign energy of self. Because we live in the world, and those things are important to us, and some people will always make the things of the world more the driving factor for why they make certain decisions in their life. And other people could get more balanced, where if the first 30 to 50 years of my life, I was pretty caught up more in these things of the world, but as time goes by, those things, I still invest in them, I still enjoy them, but I want maybe a little more balance in my life with these two cards of Libra energy. Do I want some of these things in the world just like everybody else? Yes. But, we change over time, and our dreams throughout our life and what we're kind of driven and motivated by and focusing our attention on is different at these different stages of life. Again, when we look at age 21 to 25, what were we investing our time, energy, and effort into, and what were we really fired up about? How is that different if some people now went through the age of 30 to 35? That could have been a different phase of life. I didn't want to stay like a 21 to 25-year-old all my life. And so it's continuing to go on this journey and some people are willing to do that. It's learning these lessons. And I go through all those different phases of life, and that is just and fair. That's where I was at. That's how I thought. That's how I viewed life. It was what I was fired up and motivated by. I think the high vibe people are generally investing in people because they enjoy those people. They like those people. But they also have this, longer term dream. And I think they offer love and encouragement. High Vibe Empress is offering love. Six of Wands is being inspired within yourself to change and keep healing and growing and maturing yourself. And it's kind of like wanting to grow to your full potential in your own little scheme of life, Like, I know I have no ambitions to be some big corporate CEO in New York City. That's not even my long-term goal, but that could be someone else's long-term goal. I wouldn't even really have an interest in living in New York City. Other people would. And then that can be a mismatch in a relationship. How we envision how things were going to move forward, and sometimes that can cause inner conflict in a friendship or relationship. Or just that, well, you seem to become independent of a way of living life or viewing life. We used to have that in common. And, at any time we have our fears and our insecurities and different levels of like codependency or whatever, and how we view life. And then sometimes people can kind of not like that other people, you kind of freed yourself from some things that used to manipulate you that we had in common. Or things that we like doing, and maybe you don't like doing them anymore. Well, now, that could have kind of been a common thing that was kind of the glue for something to continue to keep moving forward. But, it's kind of like the dream change, what we're kind of motivated and inspired change. I think high vibe people would offer people truth and love for them to come with them because they love them. But if that would require them to be willing to work through something that makes them defensive, you have to be inspired to even want to change, to see the truth, to put in the work and effort to look at life from a higher perspective, have a little more hope and faith and belief in yourself or in others. And, if the other people are high vibe, it just be, your truth is different than my truth. And I can love you and I wish you the best, but, we're not on the same page anymore, and how I want to move forward is different than you. It's just that sometimes people might not like it. If they liked it the way it was, the other people did do some work to become independent of some things, then, human nature, sometimes you can be a little jealous or envious. But I think if the high vibe people went about it, not in like a judgmental, like, well, you're being immature, I mean, we could have all had people when we were 21 to 25 who they started being like more immature or whatever. And then they could have been kind of rude to the people who weren't, that might have worked out for you and you're kind of doing your life different. I have no grievance with that. I still like you. I thought we'd still be friends, but if you're going to act like you're better than me and like I'm still being immature, I know that if the roles were reversed, I wouldn't try to diminish you or make you feel bad, for the fact that, maybe your things hadn't worked out the way for you yet, or you're not at that stage, So it can kind of go both ways. Some people can come across some people could say, oh, well, that person was acted jealous and envious and hurt. It's like, well, how did you act? Were you loving and encouraging and supportive? Were you, I don't know. I'm sure you know. I'm sure you've experienced it yourself. And some people right now could have a lot of inner conflict because things have changed. Either someone left their life and they're no longer in their life, like people could have passed away, people could have moved, people aren't doing other things, not investing in them. They thought they were going to, or they have the different people to in their life, and those types of different people don't mesh. And then sometimes I think high vibe people are like, I don't want to cause you a problem. If, I'm fine. I can go live my life. If it causes you a problem, I will let you go do what you want to go do and hang out with who you want to hang out with. I'm good. And, then they know they're kind of letting the people who kind of maybe more manipulate them. The Empress also could represent that someone maybe has more financial stability or status or image, and maybe a Queen of Pentacles wouldn't have as much. Emotionally, maybe someone's more abundantly loving and someone isn't as abundantly loving, but maybe they're more aligned with their truth. It's all this thing of what do we view. The Ten of Pentacles can be about what is the mix that we want. How important is it to us? Because in our free will, when we have to make these decisions about what we're going to move forward with and what we're going to not take, we're going to take action towards one thing. That's making a decision. I'm going to take action towards this and not take action towards that. There is something that is sacrificed. And some people really could have a lot of more inner conflict about it than other people. I think you communicate your truth with people in love. And then you take action in your truth. And the people who are aligned with that truth will invest in it. And the people who really are kind of waffling or going back and forth probably won't. And that helps you kind of get clear about the truth. And could you be sad about it? Sure. Can they be sad about it? Sure. Can everybody be mad and upset? Sure. But it's like, I have my truth. And if I feel like I treated you in a just and fair way, and I was authentic, and I was willing to work together with you, and that was not your dream, and kind of with the feminine figures here, meaning that people were kind of maybe connecting in with their intuition, then we have the World card and the Knight of Swords. And the World card can talk about closing out a cycle. And the Knight of Swords is Gemini energy, about our dualistic nature and our free will. What is our truth? One thing or the other, like a decision needs to be made. Am I going to keep moving forward with the way I'm living my life? If it's just all within me, am I willing to change? Am I willing to see the truth? And then in turn, I'm probably dealing with other people in the world. Are they willing to change? Are they willing to look at life from a higher perspective? Are they emotionally investing in it? Are they just, fair, loving? Do we have the same dreams? Are we motivated and inspired by the same things? And again, the more manipulated people are to be more about themselves, or more manipulated by the world or by other people or their fear or something, self-indulgent nature, whatever it could be, some of those people are putting an end just to aligning at the end of the story down here, they could be defensive in the moon of listening to their intuition, and the Three of Cups, Cancer energy of their more loving nature. They could be defensive to the Nine of Cups, kind of like, well, over here we talked about the Nine of Pentacles. The nines can talk about being more independent. And over here we have the Temperance card, which is the third fire sign energy. We had Aries here, Leo there, and this is the other one, Sagittarius. And Sagittarius can be about higher learning and education, wrapping our brain around this game of life. And some people are going to stay here, and they're going to keep moving forward, kind of harnessing these energies the same way they have in the past, which can be, I have my truth in their Gemini nature, free will. I reject the other truth. So if they're more about themselves or more defensive or more about the world or don't want to change or something, well, they reject listening to their intuition and love that is calling for them. You know, high vibe energy represented by God at the big picture wants everybody to free themselves more of things that manipulate them, because that's what the devil and that's what our shadow nature is about. All these things that try to manipulate us and control us, our fear, our insecurity, our more codependent nature, thinking we only have these things of the world and that's the most important thing, or that's the most important thing to work with. No, you were given your creative, inspired, intuitive nature. Like, God wants to give birth to new things, but God can only work with people who are willing to work with God. You know, that you have more to work with than just these things of the world. But some people think no, and that can kind of be a shadowy Queen of Swords and a shadowy Knight of Swords, where my truth is I think I need to work with these things of the world, and these things of the world are the most important things, so that's what I'm going to focus on. That's what I'm going to make my life about. I'm not going to listen to my intuition. I don't want to do things differently. And that's fine. That's the Temperance card also. Like, loving energy is always available, but love is patient. So everybody is on their own journey. And if they're more defensive right now, if they're feeling still working through their heartbreak or their inner conflict, it's just that some people will never, in their free will, choose to align with their more hopeful, believing, loving nature. And that's fine. That they were given free will. It's just that if they are more codependent, more about themselves, kind of more, to some degree, more tipped in favor of their more worldly nature, but they were in relationships and have people in their life who do listen to their intuition, are a little more independent, are in their Gemini nature, what would make up the mix of their life is different, and they could like more tipped in favor of hope and faith and belief and love, and having like a job that they love versus a job they don't love, being in friendships and relationships, not to be in friendships or relationships, and settle for maybe less friendships or relationships, but the relationships I have, I want them to be more just, fair, balanced, authentic, loving, and encouraging. You know, it could be quantity over quality, you know? And some people are like, the quantity is the most important thing, you know? Or, again, quantity, like it has to be more about me. It has to be more status and image. It has to have, you know, and it's like, hey, if that's what makes you happy, then you should do that. I love you. You do that. That's not my truth. I don't need to. I want a balance, and a balance is good. That could have seemed out of balance. So realizing the World card, again, kind of closing out a cycle, because your truth was different. What you kind of, the Knights can talk about what we fight and defend. just feeling that other people, what they fight and defend, and the things that they're kind of defensive to, it's just different than what you stand up for and defend, what you're willing to fight for. So, yeah, that's kind of funny. Over here, we have a lot of pentacles and being inspired. And then over here, we have more emotionally intuitive energy. The Three of Cups is Cancer, Pisces is the Moon, 2 water signs, the Nine of Cups is Pisces. Oh, this is the Six of Cups, this is the Nine of Cups. And then we have the Four of Pentacles, kind of. You could feel like some of those people hold back from being more independent and kind of having that more hopeful, believing spirit in the Page of Wands, which the Page of Wands can embody all three of the fire sign energies. Kind of willing to be a student of life. And so you have maybe become independent of some ways of being, and therefore when you change, you kind of aren't probably hanging out with certain people or doing certain things because you've changed. You want to invest in your dream where maybe before you could have been. The Empress can be that we were looking for someone to love us, and during that process we kind of learn to love ourselves and believe in ourselves. And then sometimes we can have people in our life who don't like that because they like that maybe kind of relationship dynamic when you were not willing to stand up for yourself and love yourself, and you were more codependent on them to love you or validate your worth and value. And now you're standing up for your more loving, intuitive nature and have become independent of them. And you might be taking this time in the Four of Pentacles just to emotionally maybe feel in the Nine of Pentacles more stable and grounded within yourself, being more independent of some other foundation, and kind of thinking about. Over here, Sagittarius energy is about this new adventure you want to go on. And then as you're moving forward, being independent, kind of maybe not communicating with certain people, not investing time, energy, and effort into those people, and being more independent and open. The one wand can be that you're open to, and the one sword that you're open to having these new beginnings that are more aligned with your truth, and the people in your life who are moving forward with you in that way, you're all doing that and kind of detaching from an old way of living life or viewing life, just like you do going through these different stages of life. And, it is kind of like acclimating. This is different. We know we don't want to repeat some of those ways of living life because I've been there and done that. And now it's kind of like settling in emotionally with all these kind of feminine figures here, of just settling into this new phase, just like people could have left a job and they're settling into a new job. And again, could have left friendships or relationships, kind of settling into some new friendships or relationships, listening to your intuition as you're communicating with people and getting to know people. And then from the Four of Pentacles to the Nine of Pentacles, taking this time to work through kind of having gone through a period of feeling left out in the cold is what the Five of Pentacles can talk about when you do stand up for your truth. And I do have this dream, and I offered people truth and love to come with me, but it has to be, it can't be what it was. I'm not the same person I was. It's like I don't want to keep, that reminds me of that, those different movies that they have out. I think Groundhog's Day is one of them, where it's the same thing, loops over and over. And then there was some more recent movie that came out, or well, in the last several years about, like people waking up and it's like, oh my gosh, and the day started all over again and they're trying to figure out how to get out of it. Or that Jim Carrey movie where it just seems like it's not inspired. It gets, and that's what worldly energy of the pentacles can get, where it's just too focused on the practical and the normal that is kind of missing that creative, inspired spark of life to keep being motivated to high vibe Sagittarius. Look at life as an adventure to be lived. Let's keep going on the adventure. There's more to learn. Just to even learn about ourselves. But in order to do that, you might have to become independent of some certain ways of thinking or believing or some ideas of how you thought life was supposed to go. And again, with some of those people are going to drop off in your life because that's their truth and they should live their life that way. If that's what makes them, that's the right mix for them. But when you realize that's not the right mix for me, that's how high vibe people free themselves from love. I wrap my brain around it. Can they be mad? Could I have been mad? Could I have felt left out in the cold? Could they have felt left out in the cold? But everybody, again, if you are offering truth and love, people have to be willing to compromise and changing the earth, like people's philosophies of life. And, it's just like trying to change things in our world. And we have revolutions and wars because, no, this is the way we've done it. This is the way we should do it. And this is the right thing to do and that's the wrong thing to do. It's like, you know what, I'm going to let you hang out with the people who more agree with that. I can accept that I live in a world of duality, but that's not my truth. And then the Six of Cups can talk about making peace with it. The Sixes can talk about balance. And so emotionally going through this process helps you make peace with the past and accept the truth of it because you offered love to it. You accept that everyone has their dream and their viewpoint in life and their things that they think is just and fair. And some of those people in your life, you could feel like that maybe they kind of emotionally manipulate people and kind of create an illusion that they're more independent or more loving or more just and fair. But really they're maybe more immature and more codependent or more superficial and shallow, or they want you to be in that energy. And it's like, maybe I was, but I'm not now. Do you want to come with? And they're like, no. It's like, I want to keep moving forward like that. It's like, because they don't maybe want to become independent of any of these things I mentioned. Being defensive. Shadowy Leo could be, I want to operate from my defensive egoic nature. I don't want to do love. I get hurt doing love. So I want to be in the relationship, but I kind of use my emotions manipulatively and kind of create an illusion that I'm willing to have a more deep, meaningful relationship, and they could certainly like being in a relationship. But shadowy Scorpio, the Six of Cups, is that it can feel kind of emotionally, eventually it doesn't keep growing and maturing over time. Just like we're supposed to grow and mature. Relationships kind of grow and mature. And if it's a love relationship, it should be that you feel more authentic and comfortable to be more authentically yourself in it. And when people, it's kind of like being in a relationship with a person who's cardboard cutout person. And they never really let their more authentic nature. And some people never will. But if you do, you'd want to be in relationships with other people who do. And I think if that's what you're working to manifest, is those type of relationships, you got clear about your truth, you stood up for your truth, you wish people peace and love, you're looking to work with and currently working with the people in your life who, in the Four of Pentacles to the Nine of Pentacles, there's some people in your life that want to hold on to you. They like that you're more independent. They like that you have equal give and take and get along, and that you respect each other as individuals. It doesn't have to be group think. We can have different philosophies of life. We can enjoy doing different things, but we love each other and want each other in our lives, and that you can inspire each other and you can be your authentic self and vulnerable with each other because you trust each other. That I don't think you're operating from shadowy Leo energy, that you tried to build your ego off of me by being hurtful or unkind, like you're so powerful. You don't seem to try to make it more about you. You know, you're just, you're fair, you're balanced, you're loving, you treat other people the way you like to be treated. And you could have some people in your life who know that about you, and so you're friends and get along, or relationships, whatever it is. And I think as you move forward, you're looking to find other people who are on that same page, to have more people in your life who are that way. And some people who could have been more about themselves, or like to be more indulged, or and like that kind of relationship dynamic, and wanted it to continue the way it was. When you kind of saw through the illusion, because for a long time you can put a lot of work and effort to keep moving a relationship forward, because you have this dream and you love them and you want it to keep moving forward. But as time goes by, you can start to feel like you're the one putting in that work and effort to move it forward, and they don't really put in as much work and effort. Like they're defensive and they hold back, and then it's like, well, this doesn't seem just and fair. And then I kind of feel like if I don't put in more of the work and effort to move this forward, it's not going to move forward. Well, why am I going to keep putting in work and effort to move a relationship forward? And part of it could be because they kind of want to be in it, some of them, but they want to do it like this. But they don't want to not the world, closing out a cycle. They don't, it's kind of like the word not. They don't want to tell the truth, that they want to do it more this way. And that's why there can be that resistance there. I like you. I might want to keep being in the friendship or relationship with you, but I don't really want to do that. I want to do this. And maybe hoping that instead of reconciling yourself with the situation and kind of coming to a place of peace about it, and loving yourself enough to become more independent of it, that you will hold back from it because you could have love for them, and that eventually you'll give up on that and you'll do it that way. And so sometimes we have those problems in some workplaces or relationships, and some people keep moving forward kind of in that page of wands, like, I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm going to keep loving and believing in myself. I'm going to keep believing in myself, believing in my dreams. Are you coming with? And some people are like, eventually it's like, where I don't know, it's kind of like you're on different worlds and you just view life, and then people could be like, I don't even know what happened, because it could happen so slowly and gradually over time, but I would say the high vibe people know. It'd probably be more the other people who are like, I don't even know why that didn't work out. It's like, well, did you put in work and effort equally to make it work out, or did you not? What's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Leo energy? Who are working on emotionally listening more to their hopeful, believing, loving nature instead of their more immature nature. And that could be all these lessons that you've learned stops you in your more immature nature that would kind of like to go, because there's a part of us that would like things to work out the way we wanted, but We don't want to indulge people in poor behavior. And though it can be difficult, because you could still like those people, friend, family, whoever, but if they're acting in a way that's shadowy, because out of love for yourself and maintaining balance within yourself, you're not letting your more immature, indulging your more immature nature. And just like you're doing that, other people can be doing that in the world. Some people could be in relationships where they're doing this work with people. And, we can all be tempted by other people. And I would say they're holding back their more immature nature not to go indulge themselves in their more immature energy. Shadowy Sagittarius, represented by the Knight of Wands, would go take action towards it, but some people are harnessing a more high vibe Leo and Aries and Sagittarius energy within themselves to temper themselves. Because if they're in relationships with people who are loving and encouraging and independent, allow them to be their own person, why would they sabotage that? They've learned these lessons in life. And then on the flip side, there could be people that are in relationships that are more, they harness these energies in a more shadowy way. Again, where it is they're indulging someone or someone's indulging them, lets them be more immature or be more superficial and shallow. And they just continually just try to balance out their emotions that, in a relationship more out of codependency or fear or want for whatever it provides. And they just try to balance out their emotions about the fact that they're not living their authentic life. And the high vibe people are like, I am going to live my authentic life. I'm not going to live a life of illusion. Other people are more willing to live a life of illusion. If it provides them the things of the world that they want, they don't care if they are in relationships with bossy or controlling people or immature people or super superficial and shallow people. If some people's biggest fear is, I don't want to have to become independent of some things, and therefore I want to be in a relationship with someone who won't require that of me or won't become independent of me. If that's their greatest idea of the dream life, then they're going to stay in any situations that provide that for them. I just think that, it sounds like a miserable way to live, but everybody can do whatever the hell they want. We got the Four of Pentacles, the Nine of Cups, the Page of Cups, the Hermit, the Seven of Wands, and the Three of Cups. And the reason it came out is because of the Six of Swords. So the Six of Swords, like the Queen of Swords, is Aquarius energy. You have a dream. And you're taking action to move forward, taking action from your truth. You are holding back from indulging your more immature nature emotionally because you've learned these lessons in life. There's always people I could go get in a relationship with that would be happy for me to indulge them in a relationship or willing to indulge me in a relationship. It just wouldn't be driven and motivated by truth and love, but it might look good by worldly standards. Someone could be more about love, someone else is more about the world. We can like each other, we could like a dream to come into reality, but the dream never comes into reality because the truth that drives and motivates us for being in it is different. And high vibe people have learned that truth. And they've also probably communicated their truth to people in their life. In the Page of Cups is sending a message to some people. Do you want to come with? And some of those people aren't coming with. So from the 9 down to the 1 in the 8 of Cups, you walked away emotionally. to do this inner work, to think about your truth, and apparently their truth is different. So you stand up for your truth because you don't want to be emotionally manipulated. And, sometimes that's why some people hold back from us. I don't like how you're living your life. If you come back and do it this way, then I'd be in a friendship or relationship with you. It's like, but we've already been there and done that, and I felt betrayed. I don't think you were telling the truth. I think you were trying to emotionally manipulate me. Use the love that I have for you to manipulate me. Well, that's not just and fair. Or your truth isn't to work together with me cooperatively from love. It's for some other reason. Or I'm a third party to some other thing that is more important to you than love, which could be a divided loyalty, a third party, your friend group, your original family, someone else. Go do it then. Enjoy your life. I have my dreams. Apparently, your dream isn't the same. You're holding back from coming towards me and investing in it. And it can take time to work through that. And the Virgo Hermit talks about doing this work internally, emotionally, to accept the truth. And you stand up and defend your truth, just like they're standing up and defending theirs. You stand up and defend love. And love is the answer. Love is what helps you wrap your brain around this game of life, so you can get out of feeling betrayed and heartbroken. People who love me don't try to manipulate me to get me to do what they want me to do. They're loving and encouraging and just and fair and work cooperatively with me. People who try to manipulate me might be defensive to me, might be hurtful and unkind, to try to stop me from loving and believing in myself. Well, I want to be in relationships with people who encourage me to love and believe in myself and do work together with me in a more just and fair way. So I see the truth and I'm ready to go on that new beginning. And probably there's people in your life that are happy you're doing that. They're glad you're holding back from some people. They're glad you're not indulging them. They also could be people, and some of the people that you'll meet as you move forward have been waiting for someone like you to come up the path of life, because they had to go up the path of life because they didn't like that either. And they've been looking for new people to come into their workplace or into their friend group or move into their neighborhood that don't act like that. And so I make it sound shadowy, but some people it's just like, we all know people that we can get along with and we can hang out and treat with respect and get along. But am I going to hang out with you more or date you? Certainly not. And would they want to date me or hang out with me more? No, certainly not. We can have people who are different in our life that we enjoy and can enjoy socially. But, we're kind of looking for people to be more on the same page as us, that like to do some of the same things we do, and inspired to, just different ways of kind of conducting yourself and what makes up your life that you enjoy. And other people have had to distance themselves from different people, and they're looking for other people to join them. And I think as you do that, just like you're going to meet people and you're going to be in the Page of Cups is just small gestures like the Page of Wands to get to know each other. Again, like a lot of people in the world. And with some of those people, it won't move forward anymore, but they're just people that you can enjoy in the world, in your neighborhood, at your workplace, whatever, friends. But, certain people become more like a best friend. Certain people are someone you think you'd be more interested, if you're single, to date, and it's trying to work that out. And just like you're kind of in the Hermit, kind of looking to get to know people and listen to your intuition about who's who, other people are doing that towards you. And I would say maybe with the Page of Wands and the Six of Swords, that there will be some action taken where you kind of get a little better idea of who's more on the same page as you and who's not with new people that you're meeting in your life as you move forward. What's coming up for the people who, and yeah, the more high vibrational people will see the truth of who you are. You know, our judgment can be clouded by when we're more manipulated by fear, insecurity, or our want to manipulate or control people. And other people, their judgment isn't clouded. Hey, this looks like a just and fair person who seems to, get along well with people. Yeah, I'm going to go communicate with that person and then stand up and defend that person. Just like as you meet those people and you get to know them, you stand up and defend, defending other people who are more independent of an old phase of life that you don't want to live your life anymore like that. And to stand up and defend people, and because you view them as, kind of on the same path that you're on. Okay, what's coming up for some people who might harness a more worldly or shadowy Leo energy that they might not see coming? And so what you guys might not see coming is that either as you move forward, you're going to meet these new people, which right now, if you're just in the midst of doing this, it's kind of, but you have in the Queen of Swords and the Six of Swords, you have hope and faith. And that's what, it takes. And as you do that, I think there will be other people, you're either being a good role model in the world, kind of shining the light in the dark for other people, and you're going out in the world and treating other people the way you like to be treated. As you're moving forward towards people, other people will also move towards you and move with you if that is their truth. And again, there's always going to be shadowy people who are in a world of duality, and you're just going to, with the lessons you've learned, get to know people to find out who's who. Going to speak your truth, know your worth and value, treat other people the way you like to get treated, see if they seem to be more authentic or more manipulative or whatever, and make your decisions. What's coming up for some people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Leo energy? The Lovers. Why? Because of the Wheel of Fortune. Well, so the Lovers, like the Knight of Swords, is Gemini energy. Some people who are defensive to love, people who are more motivated and inspired by love, not just the illusion of love, but that is the driving factor of why they want to get in relationships and stay in relationships. The people in their life that are more motivated and inspired by that than themselves or the world or what they indulge in, the more loving people in their life as time goes by in the Wheel of Fortune, some of those people could have been being very patient, just like we've had people be patient with us when we were more immature, and those people moved on. And we can have people in our life, and some of the people we've moved on from, they have people in their life that they view more immature or stubborn or prideful. Everybody can move on from different people because you kind of see that you're not on the same page with those people. But then does that mean you're on the same page? No, you're still, it's kind of like as if every phase of life, like when we went to go be 18 to 21-year-olds, there was a whole spectrum of people that were 18 to 21 at all these different emotional maturity levels and ways of acting and entertaining themselves, and it was like to try to find the people that was just on our little space on the spectrum. But the more shadowy someone is, or bossy or controlling or full of themselves or manipulative or not being authentic, are going to have more people who are more aligned with their loving nature move away from them. Because they don't want just the illusion of love. They really want more deep, meaningful relationships, and some of these people aren't willing to do that. and they defend their more worldly nature. And again, they can be loving and encouraging people in a relationship, or people wouldn't keep staying in a relationship with them. It's just that they won't come out of their defensiveness to be more authentic. So eventually it does seem like it's just more about those reasons of the world to be in the relationship. Love is going to move forward. There can be people in the world that are hurtful, unkind, unjust, unfair, harsh, critical, defensive, unloving, manipulative. They hang out with the people they hang out with, and can be defensive to more loving people, because that's not the kind of people they are. And they could think that, it's kind of like the devil trying to stop the truth, trying to confuse people about love, trying to confuse people about who is loving, who is more independent. No, we're the more loving people. We're the more authentic people. Look, we rejected the more independent, loving people. See, you shouldn't hang out with them. Kind of like group mentality again. You should hang out with us, because see how we all flock together and support and encourage each other or something, Kind of like we did leave that person out in the cold. You should reject them too, or something. Love wins. Because loving people aren't as manipulated by playing these games in the world to have to dress a certain way or kiss people's butts or something, They know their worth and value, and they work with kind of like higher vibrational energy. And that alone can make some people defensive to them. Because, well, you're not playing the game that we all play. And we don't like it. So we're going to keep rejecting you. It's like, that's okay, because I didn't want to play with you anyway. I mean, there's a part of you, that would like to. We all want friendship and relationship. But I don't want to work with people who aren't being more just and fair and just treating other people the way they like to be treated from love. And if it's not love and it has to be more about whatever else it is, then you can do that. And there'll be other people who want to be in friendship and relationship with anybody at whatever spectrum of the stage of life that they're at. And they'll have people who want to move forward with them in friendship and relationship, who will defend them and make their life more about what they make their life about. So I think sometimes those shadowy people, like in a romantic relationship, they want to be more whatever, bossy, controlling, prideful, stubborn, immature, more about themselves, indulged, hurtful, unkind, whatever. And they would like to have loving people in their life and get those people to, because it helps create the illusion they're more just, fair, stable, balanced, loving, and mature than they really are. And they get a loving person to boot, to be in a relationship with them and indulge them in their poor behavior. And the loving people move on from them, and they don't like that. And they're going to probably end up in relationships with people who are more like themselves, who are also kind of defensive and like to view themselves as just and fair and loving and mature. But they could have inner conflict about being willing to look at life from anyone else's perspective, or to heal or grow and mature themselves. And they view themselves as loving, and they should view them as loving. It's like, you're kind of more manipulative. Well, so are you. Or you're more bossy and controlling, or you're more immature, or you're more defensive to love. And they're going to have to balance. It's kind of like who we are internally and what we align with within ourselves. Whatever it is that manipulates us, if we have these things, the fear, the insecurity, the pain, the heartbreak, too caught up in these things of the world, we're probably going to get in relationships with people who are happy we're in that energy. And if we are willing to listen to our intuition, there's always going to be shadowy people in the world, but we could be with less shadowy people. Just like we always have our shadow nature, but are we willing to grow and mature ourselves and temper our ego, temper our more egoic nature, and maybe become independent of some of our more immature ways? Well, then we probably hang out with some more people who have learned those lessons, who are kind of more mature than some of the people we might have hung out with before, right? But it starts within us. We have to change. We have to see the truth. We can keep defending relationships waiting for other people to change, and they may never change. And if it's not aligned with our truth and our dream, we speak our truth from love. You seem to have a different dream than I have. I have offered you love and encouragement to work through this, but if you're defensive to change and you're defensive to working through these things and what manipulates you, then in peace and love, I wish you peace and love, but I'm moving on. I can only work together with other people who are willing to work together with me. But there'll be other people who are willing to be in a relationship with them. Those people might be more like them, and they might not like that. So there you go, Leo. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.